Welcome to this special podcast, sponsored by Murphy Business Sales Edison, New Jersey office, where your business aspirations meet expert guidance. Whether you're looking to sell your business or explore new acquisition opportunities, we are here to support you every step of the way. Join us as our hosts deep dive into small business topics which are relevant for buyers, sellers, and other transaction advisors in the ecosystem.
So, picture this. You run a business, right?
Okay, sure.
Let's just say it's a manufacturing company. You probably know the cost of your raw materials down to the absolute cent.
Oh, absolutely. Down to the penny.
Right. I mean, you know your labor costs, your shipping logistics, your production margins.
Yeah, the core stuff.
But if someone walked into your office right now and asked, what are you paying for trash removal this month?
Or, how many duplicate software subscriptions the marketing team is running.
Exactly. You would probably just give them a blank stare. So today, we are hunting down those tens of thousands of dollars leaking out of your business every single month.
And it's leaking just because no one is watching it. It really is the blind spot of almost every founder out there.
It really is.
And honestly, it's costing them an absolute fortune.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because we are talking about indirect cost management today.
Right.
And for anyone who needs a quick refresher, where exactly is that operational dividing line, between direct and indirect procurement?
Yeah, so the dividing line usually comes down to whether the expense actually touches your core product.
Okay.
Direct procurement impacts your cost of goods sold, your COGS.
Right, so the raw materials.
Exactly. Raw materials, the components, freight, basically the things directly tied to the revenue you're generating.
Makes sense.
But indirect procurement, that impacts your operating expenses, your OPEX. It's the infrastructure that keeps the business running behind the scenes,
Yeah.
Software licenses,
Yeah.
facility maintenance, office supplies, travel.
The internet bill.
Yes, the internet bill,
Yeah.
legal services, all of that.
So it's the stuff that supports the business, but it doesn't actually go in the box you ship to the customer.
Precisely. It doesn't go in the box. And because it doesn't go in the box, it just gets systematically ignored.
Wow.
But here's the really critical part. Our sources indicate that indirect spend can quietly eat up 20% to 40% of a company's total spend.
Wait, 20% to 40%?
Yeah. It's a massive chunk of capital just flowing out the door.
That is wild. I mean, it makes me think of phantom power in a house. You know what I mean?
Oh, right. Like appliances left plugged in.
Exactly. When you have the coffee maker, the television, the phone chargers all plugged into the wall, and they are constantly draining electricity even when they're turned off.
Yeah, you don't even see the drain.
You don't. You aren't actively using the devices, but then at the end of the month, your utility bill is just astronomical.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it because, just like phantom power, you don't really notice it until you audit the whole house.
Right.
And what's fascinating here is that the data shows 100% of businesses overspend in at least one category of indirect costs.
Wait, 100%. Literally everyone.
Literally everyone.
I mean, that sounds like a manufactured statistic from a consulting firm trying to sell me something,
Right.
How can every single business be overspending?
I totally get the skepticism. I do. But it really comes down to the nature of indirect costs and, honestly, just human bandwidth.
Okay, human bandwidth.
Yeah, first off, owners assume these costs are just fixed. They look at an insurance premium or like an internet bill and assume it's set in stone.
Right, like there's nothing they can do about it.
Exactly. And second, and probably more importantly, they're just busy.
Yeah, keeping the lights on.
They're laser focused on top-line sales and keeping the core business alive. There's this brilliant example from the source material about a pizza chain owner.
Oh, right, the pizza guy.
Yeah. If you ask this owner about direct costs, they are a walking encyclopedia.
Sure.
I mean, they know flour costs exactly $2 a pound.
And the cardboard pizza box is exactly 80 cents.
Right. Because if the cheese price fluctuates, the whole pizza business could go under.
Sure, that's a survival mechanism.
But ask that same owner what they spend on business insurance or waste removal.
Or payroll processing fees.
They have absolutely no clue. And it's not because they're lazy. It's because negotiating a garbage contract doesn't feel like it grows the pizza business.
Yeah, you just pay the invoice when it arrives, so they keep emptying the dumpsters.
Exactly, just to keep the lights on.
Which is totally understandable, but it leaves this massive vulnerability. But I want to look at the upside here, because the sources talk about patching these leaks as having an infinite return on investment.
Yes, infinite ROI.
How do you get an infinite ROI on trash collection? I mean, really.
Well, it earns that infinite title because it requires zero upfront capital. and it carries zero risk to your revenue.
Okay, zero risk.
Let's look at some real-world wins from the data. There was this casual restaurant, right? They took just 4 hours of administrative work to review their natural gas provider.
4 hours?
Yeah, just half a day's work. And natural gas is a deregulated utility in their area. They saved $32,000.
Whoa.
That was an 11% savings on their energy bill.
Let me just do the math on that for a second. Saving 32 grand for 4 hours of work.
Yeah.
That's effectively paying yourself $8,000 an hour to just sit at a desk and make phone calls.
Exactly. It is pure profit falling straight to the bottom line.
That's incredible.
And there's another example in the sources, a hotel that saved $60,000.
Jeez.
That was a 21% reduction in costs, simply by renegotiating the frequency of their garbage removal.
Wait, did they change companies?
Nope, they didn't even change companies. They just looked at the data, realized their dumpsters were only half full on pickup days, and adjusted the schedule and the container sizes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the hotel guest doesn't care what day the dumpster's emptied, right?
No, not at all.
It doesn't disrupt the customer experience at all.
So if the upside is tens of thousands of dollars for literally a few hours of work, I have to ask, why is this such a complete mess in the first place?
That is the million-dollar question.
Like, how does an otherwise smart business get to the point where they're throwing away 60 grand on half-empty dumpsters?
It really boils down to decentralization.
Decentralization.
Yeah. Direct spend is tightly controlled. It has to be, because it's tied to a rigid production schedule.
Right.
But indirect spend, that happens across every single department, often without any central oversight whatsoever.
Oh.
And this lack of centralized control breeds two very specific pathologies: maverick spend and shadow IT.
Okay. Maverick spend and shadow IT. Those sound like two rogue hackers from some 90s cyber thriller.
I know, right? Maverick and shadow taking down the mainframe.
Exactly. But what do those terms actually mean in a normal business context?
Well, they're essentially the villains of your budget. So maverick spend happens when employees bypass your preferred negotiated vendors.
Okay.
They just buy things wherever it's most convenient for them.
And what about shadow IT?
Shadow IT is a specific, rapidly growing subset of maverick spend. It occurs when departments buy SaaS subscriptions, software as a service, without running it past IT or finance.
I can actually visualize why that happens, though. I mean, it's not usually malicious, right?
No, not at all.
It's about speed. Like, the marketing team needs to launch a campaign on Friday.
Exactly.
And they know that if they submit a software request to procurement, it's going to take 3 weeks of bureaucratic approvals.
Oh, easily 3 weeks.
So a manager just pulls out a corporate card, pays the $50 a month for some project management tool, and bypasses the whole bottleneck.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a symptom of operational friction. Employees just want to get their jobs done.
Yeah.
But the compounding inefficiencies this creates at a company-wide level are mind-blowing.
Give me an example.
Well, the sources cite this enterprise HR team that was using 3 separate recruiting firms simultaneously.
3?
Yeah, and these firms were pulling from the exact same candidate pool.
Oh, no.
But the company was paying 3 different sets of fees because the HR managers in different regions just weren't communicating.
They were literally bidding against themselves for the exact same candidate.
Exactly. And another global brand was found to be using 70 different marketing agencies across its regional teams.
Wait, 70?
70.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Beyond the obvious duplicate spending on the actual services, what does this chaos cost a business in pure administrative drag?
It's huge.
I mean, somebody has to process the invoices for 70 different marketing agencies and dozens of rogue software tools.
Yes. And that administrative drag is what we call the hidden cost multiplier.
The hidden cost multiplier.
Yeah. The data shows that 72% of finance teams spend 520 or more hours a year on manual accounts payable tasks.
Hold on, 520 hours. That's roughly a quarter of a full-time employee's entire working year?
Yep.
Just dedicated to chasing paper?
Let's scale it down to a small business to make it real. Let's say your office manager spends 10 hours a month just tracking down lost receipts from employees.
Yeah.
Categorizing them, manually entering them into the ledger. If you value their time at a modest $30 an hour,
Yeah.
that's $3,600 a year that you are literally wasting on the process of spending money.
That is agonizing to think about. You weren't buying anything of value.
No, you're paying a friction tax for being disorganized.
You're literally paying people to manage the mess they created.
Exactly. Which is why there has to be a fundamental shift in philosophy here.
Okay, what kind of shift?
You have to move away from expense management and move towards spend management.
Expense management versus spend management. What's the difference?
Expense management is reactive. It's looking at a spreadsheet at the end of the month and saying, wow, we bought a lot of stuff.
Right.
Spend management is proactive. It means controlling how and where capital is deployed before the money even leaves the building.
I want to challenge that, though, because moving from reactive to proactive sounds great in a boardroom, right?
Sure.
But how do you actually do it? I mean, traditional budgeting feels like hoarding to me.
Hoarding. How so?
Well, you accumulate these expenses year after year, and then when budget season rolls around, department heads fight tooth and nail to keep their budget.
Oh, definitely.
They say, well, I had $10,000 for software last year. I need $11,000 this year. They just throw a 5% increase on top of last year's bloated pile.
You're totally right. The traditional model assumes that everything you bought last year is still necessary today, which is almost never true in a dynamic environment.
So how do you break that cycle? The sources talk about zero-based budgeting or ZBB.
Yes, ZBB.
But honestly, when I first read that budget to zero, sounded like you're telling me to spend my bank account down to nothing every month.
Right.
That sounds terrifying for a small business owner.
It does sound counterintuitive, but you aren't actually spending it all. You're allocating it.
Allocating.
Yeah, in zero-based budgeting, you don't carry any budget over automatically. You start with a clean slate, literally zero.
Okay.
The equation is income minus total expenses equals zero. Every single dollar is assigned a specific job from scratch every month.
Oh, I see. It's like a Marie Kondo for your business finances.
That is a perfect analogy.
You have to pick up every single line item, hold it up to the light, and ask, does this software subscription spark strategic growth?
Yes.
And if it doesn't, you throw it out.
Exactly. You force the expense to justify its existence. Let's walk through the example of Alex from our sources.
Okay, let's hear about Alex.
Alex is a self-employed consultant pulling in £5,000 a month. In a traditional setup, Alex might just pay the bills as they come in, leave the rest in the main checking account, and just hope there's some profit left at the end of the month.
Ah, yes. The classic management by bank balance strategy.
We've all been there.
If there's money in the account, I can afford this new marketing tool, right?
Which leads directly to lifestyle creep and maverick spend. But using ZBB, Alex actively allocates that £5,000 before the month even begins.
Okay, how does Alex do it?
Alex assigns £700 to operating expenses, things like co-working space and internet.
Sure.
Then allocates £1,800 to financial goals and taxes. This is money being actively moved into a protected tax reserve or a growth fund.
Smart.
Finally, Alex assigns £2,500 to personal pay. When you subtract the expenses, the savings, and the salary from the income, the balance is exactly zero.
Wow.
Every single pound has a strategic purpose.
So nothing is left floating around as ambiguous extra money to be accidentally wasted.
Precisely.
But let's scale that up for a second. If I have a company with 50 employees, implementing ZBB sounds like a political nightmare.
Oh, there will be friction.
My department heads are going to hate me.
They might push back initially because it removes their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, ZBB isn't just a surgical tool for slashing costs.
What is it then?
It is a behavioral change. You're building a cost-conscious culture. When you force department heads to justify every dollar based on current strategic needs, the data shows you routinely free up 10% to 25% of capital.
That is a massive chunk of change.
And you don't just pocket that capital. You reinvest it into growth initiatives that actually move the needle.
You are literally starving the inefficiencies to feed the growth engines. I love the concept.
It's powerful.
But practically speaking, executing ZBB manually across a whole company would be impossible.
Absolutely impossible.
If I have to manually review every $50 purchase request from my team, I'm never going to have time to actually run the business. So here's where it gets really interesting. What is the modern toolkit for taming this beast? How do I enforce zero-based budgeting without hiring a massive corporate procurement team?
The good news is that technology has completely democratized spend management.
Okay.
The foundational piece of this new toolkit is the card-first technology paradigm.
Card first, like corporate credit cards.
Well, we're talking about modern spend management platforms like Payem, Ramp, or Brex.
So how does a platform like that differ from me just, handing my marketing manager a standard corporate credit card?
A standard corporate card is the ultimate enabler of maverick spend.
How so?
The employee buys whatever they want, and you don't find out about it until weeks later when the statement arrives.
Oh, right. The end-of-month surprise?
Exactly. With card-first platforms, the paradigm flips. Instead of employees spending and begging for reimbursement or sharing one physical piece of plastic around the office.
Which is always a nightmare.
It is. You issue them virtual cards instead.
Like a digital card generated right on their smartphone.
Yes. But the magic is really in the controls. These virtual cards have hard limits and merchant category restrictions baked directly into the software.
Really? How detailed can you get?
Well, you can generate a virtual card for your marketing manager that has a strict limit of $500 a month. And you can program it so it mathematically cannot be used anywhere except approved advertising platforms like Google or LinkedIn.
Wait, really? So if they try to use it for an unauthorized sauce tool,
Or try to buy a flight.
it just declines.
The card simply declines.
That is incredible. It literally enforces the zero-based budgeting philosophy at the point of sale.
It does, and it solves the 520 hours of administrative drag, too.
Oh, how does it fix the receipt chasing?
These platforms use optical character recognition, or OCR.
Okay.
When the employee makes a purchase, their phone buzzes immediately. They snap a photo of the receipt right then and there.
Oh, that's easy.
The OCR technology reads the merchant name, the date, and the amount, and instantly matches it to the transaction.
And does it talk to the accounting software? Seamlessly. It integrates directly into software like QuickBooks or NetSuite. The transaction is coded and reconciled before the employee even puts their phone back in their pocket.
Okay, so virtual cards stop employees from making rogue purchases.
Yep.
That totally solves the shadow IT problem. But what about the prices we are actually paying for our legitimate authorized services?
Ah, the pricing.
Yeah. A virtual card doesn't magically negotiate my internet bill or lower the cost of my office supplies. How do I fix the pricing?
That is where you leverage group purchasing organizations, or GPOs.
Group purchasing organizations.
These are absolute game changers for small to mid-sized businesses. Companies like unmanaged Partners or Centerpoint.
What do they actually do?
A GPO exists for one reason: to pool the purchasing volume of thousands of different businesses.
Oh, I see.
By combining all that buying power, they can go to major suppliers and negotiate massive volume discounts that a single small business could never get on their own.
It sounds like a warehouse club membership, like Costco, but for business infrastructure. That's a perfect way to describe it.
So how does a small business actually utilize one? Is it complicated?
It's surprisingly simple, actually. You can join a horizontal GPO, which covers general business needs like telecom, shipping, and janitorial services across any industry.
Okay, and what's the alternative?
Or you can join a vertical GPO, which specializes in specific industries like healthcare or manufacturing.
They cost a lot to join?
Often, joining is completely free for the buyer.
Really? Free?
Yeah, because the GPO is funded by administrative fees from the suppliers. Once you register your business, you get access to a portal with pre-negotiated contracts.
So I don't have to spend 3 weeks getting quotes from different shipping companies.
No, you bypass the brutal, time-consuming request for proposal process entirely.
That is a huge relief.
You just plug into their pre-negotiated rates
Yeah.
and instantly get Fortune 500 pricing on your indirect expenses.
Okay, that covers software limits and standard supplies. But what if I have a highly complex indirect expense? Something a GPO just can't handle, like a messy HR contract or specialized insurance. I don't have a chief procurement officer on staff to untangle that.
Right. For complex contracts, you bring in the third part of the toolkit, the fractional CPO.
A fractional chief procurement officer.
Exactly. It's designed for a business that has outgrown its informal controls. Maybe you're hitting a few million in revenue.
But you absolutely cannot justify a $200,000 full-time executive salary for procurement.
Precisely. You rent the expertise instead of buying it.
I love that. Renting the expertise.
You hire a fractional CPO on a part-time or project basis. They bring enterprise-level strategic sourcing to your small business.
Can you give me an example from the sources?
Oh, there's a fantastic example. A fractional expert was brought into a company to audit their contract with a professional employer organization, a PEO.
Okay, so PEOs handle HR, payroll, benefits.
Right, and their pricing structures can be notoriously opaque, very difficult to unwind.
Because they bundle so many services together, it's hard to tell what you're actually paying for.
Exactly. But the fractional CPO knew exactly how to decouple those services. They audited the contract, realized the company was being massively overcharged on administrative fees, and renegotiated the setup.
And what was the result?
They saved the company $35,000.
Wow.
And because the fractional CPO knew exactly what levers to pull, it took them a total of 9 hours of work to accomplish it.
Saving $35,000 in 9 hours is phenomenal, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
What about the truly small businesses listening to this right now? What if you are a team of 3 people?
Okay.
You have less than $3,000 a month in total indirect spend. You don't need AI-driven corporate virtual cards, and you certainly don't need a C-suite executive, even a fractional one.
Right.
Are these concepts just useless for the little guys?
Not at all.
Yeah.
The principles of spend management still apply, but your toolkit just scales down to community-driven resources.
Yeah, so.
If you're bootstrapping, you lean into free expertise. For example, SCORE is an incredible nonprofit organization.
What does SCORE do?
They pair you with retired executives who volunteer their time to give you free, tailored business mentorship. They can look at your books and tell you exactly where your margins are leaking.
Having a retired executive audit your books for free is an incredible resource.
It really is. You also have small business development centers, or SBDCs,
Okay.
which are often tied to local universities and provide free guidance on planning and finance.
Oh, nice.
And if you need help untangling a complex supplier contract but can't afford a lawyer, look for free small business legal clinics in your state.
That's a great tip.
And honestly, don't underestimate the power of crowdsourcing.
Like going on social media.
Specifically, targeted online communities. Subreddits like Small Business are filled with thousands of owners who have faced the exact same problems.
Right.
You could literally post, I run a 3-person agency in Ohio and I'm paying X for my telecom. Is that normal?
And people will actually answer.
Oh, you will get 20 responses in an hour from peers telling you exactly what they pay. And they'll probably give you the name of a better local vendor, too.
That is incredibly empowering. You don't have to navigate this alone, and you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to optimize your expenses.
Exactly.
So let's bring this all together. Your indirect spend, the software, the insurance, the trash removal, the office supplies, it isn't just the cost of doing business.
No, it's not.
It is a hidden treasure trove of profit. By moving away from reactive expense tracking and adopting a zero-based budgeting mindset, you force every dollar to justify its existence.
And by leveraging modern tools like virtual corporate cards, group purchasing organizations, or even just leaning into fractional and community expertise.
You can drastically increase your profit margins without having to sell a single extra unit of your core product.
It's amazing. But, this raises an important question, though.
Oh.
And it's something for you to really mull over as you analyze your own business after this deep dive.
Okay, what is it?
What if optimizing your indirect spend isn't just about saving money today, but about survival tomorrow?
Survival. How do you mean?
Well, think about the secondary effects of using these tools. When you automate your accounts payable with virtual cards and proactive budgeting, your invoices get processed cleanly.
Right.
Your indirect suppliers get paid exactly on time, every single time, without the friction of lost receipts, disputes, or manual errors.
Sure, you become a smooth operation.
Over time, that builds immense goodwill with your vendors.
So you stop being a headache and become their most reliable client.
Exactly. Now, imagine the next global supply chain crisis hits, or a severe economic downturn restricts resources.
Right. Everyone panics.
Your vendors have to decide who gets their limited supplies and who gets cut off. Who do you think they're going to prioritize?
Oh, wow.
The disorganized company that constantly fights over invoices and pays 45 days late because they can't find their paperwork?
Definitely not.
Or you, the small business with automated, optimized systems that always pays on time?
That makes total sense.
That reputation for reliability could literally be the deciding factor that keeps your doors open while your competitors are put on hold.
Wow. Managing your trash removal and software subscriptions today might be the very thing that secures your supply chain during a crisis tomorrow.
It really could.
That is a powerful shift in perspective. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
Take a hard look at your bank statements this week, find that phantom power draining your accounts, and unplug it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you from all of us at Murphy Business Sales for taking the time to learn about this important topic. We look forward to working together to achieve your business aspirations. For more information or a complimentary consultation for sell-side services, visit us at murphybusiness.com/Edison and complete our Contact Us form.